Live. Hi, welcome. If this is your first time joining me, my name's Ayana. I'm a licensed massage therapist, esthetician, and spa owner. And this live is all about spa memberships. So we're going to do a one-on-one quick lesson about memberships. I did get everyone's questions on Instagram. I'm going to give everyone a few moments to introduce themselves, where you're watching from, and then we're going to dive right on in. Let me open up the chat over here on YouTube. And let me go ahead and pin my comment too. Okay. All right, so we are currently live on Facebook, on Instagram, and on YouTube. And in this live, we're going to be talking all about memberships. I do have quite a few tips for you all here, and I did get your questions on Instagram. I wrote them all down. And I'm going to get to those questions at the end. And if you also have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat, and then we may get to it towards the end of this live stream. All right, I'm seeing Billy from California, Los Angeles, India. Wow. Okay. Awesome. And again, if you do have any questions about the memberships, go ahead and put it in the chat and we may get to it towards the end. But I'm just going to go ahead and dive right on in. So we're talking about memberships and how you can incorporate this in with your spa services. So we're going to talk about this from a strategy perspective and also from my own personal experience and what I currently do in my business. And again, as usual, when you come in, go ahead and introduce where you're watching from. I'm seeing Arizona. Welcome. Margaret from London. Welcome, welcome. All right, I'm seeing some questions in the chat over here on Instagram. All right, so we're going to dive right in. I do have some kind of light notes here. And I do want to ask you all, do you currently have a membership? Whether you have one for your business or the place that you work at, do they have a membership? Let me know in the chat. Okay, so there are 4 points that I want to bring up when it comes to memberships. Now, this within itself could be a whole video, and I hope to have a more in-depth video on this in the future. But the main purpose of this strategy is going to be recurring revenue, specifically for your baseline numbers. So when I say your baseline, I'm talking about your overhead. How many of us know what our overhead costs are every single month? And feel free to respond in the chat because I'm very, very curious. But the strategy here, in the way that I teach other spot owners to do this, is if you're going to have a membership, first of all, make sure that you have the availability to fulfill the membership. That is one of the reasons why even now in year 4, we're now implementing, membership strategies, because now we, have availability, the space, all that stuff. For a very long time, I was mobile. Not to say that you can't do membership while you're mobile. In fact, you absolutely can. But again, just make sure you have the availability for that. But the main strategy here is going to be recurring revenue. So making sure that your memberships cover your overhead. That is a really good low-hanging fruit goal when you are incorporating memberships and you're launching memberships for the very, very first time. So if your overhead costs are, $5,000 or $3,000, how many members do you need in order to reach that goal every single month? And the reason why I say this should be your top priority if you're going to incorporate memberships is because that alleviates so much stress for you. First of all, as the owner, you don't have to worry about where is, rent going to come from, where your utilities are going to come from, how many clients we need, because they're already recurring. They're already a member, so you can account on that income for 6 to 12 months. Some people have 3 month memberships, but I recommend starting off at a 6 month membership. I'm seeing Keisha tuning in from Barbados. Welcome, welcome. Yes, so make sure that your membership covers your baseline. So again, I want to know how many people know what their baseline numbers are, and then just make sure that your membership is covering that. So that's going to be a very quick and easy calculation. If your overhead, and when I say overhead, there's a lot of different things that can go into that, but I'm really discussing your rent, your utilities, the things that you have to pay for every single month in order to have a business. I'm not necessarily talking about, your payroll, because those are what we would call variable costs. They will, change over time in your business. But what are the static costs that you have in your business, just from a practical perspective, that you have to cover every single month in order to operate? So this is going to be all your software. It's going to be any type of subscription that you need to operate. Now, some of these subscriptions you don't need to operate. I would not include that in your overhead. But at the very least, it's going to be the costs of what it takes to rent your space. Maybe it's even your insurance that you have on your space. But calculate your overhead before you launch your membership, and then make sure that you have a goal of getting the amount of members to cover that overhead. Because again, that's going to alleviate so much stress for you as the business owner. Another thing to keep in mind about memberships is not only is this going to help cover your baseline, but this should really be seen as a retention strategy. So I don't necessarily see memberships as a revenue strategy unless I'm discussing, making sure it covers our overhead. I really see this as a retention strategy. And I'll explain why that's important a little bit later when we get to these other few points. And for those of you who are just joining us, I did ask the chat, do you have a membership? Does the place that you work at have a membership? Let me know in the chat, and also let me know where you're watching from. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next point that I have here. All right, so when it comes to your membership, one of the things that will really help you sell your membership is making sure that it's treatment plan based. So that means building your membership around a wellness program, a recovery program, some type of result that you help your clients get in a certain amount of time. Perhaps you work with a very niche client and they see you to seek like a specific transformation. Maybe you help people with car injuries or auto injuries. Maybe you help people throughout their pregnancy and even postnatal. Perhaps you do lymphatic drainage. That's what I do. I do recovery massage. And so in my business, there is a specific kind of protocol or a recovery program that we have, and we turn that into memberships. So one of our memberships that we have, it's $499 a month. It's for 3 months, and that covers that recovery period. Typically, what we see is people need to come in at least once a week. Oftentimes, it's more than that in the first couple weeks. And so this membership helps them essentially pay for that all at once. It's almost like an inclusive price. I'm seeing in the chat that some of you do not have memberships. And I'm seeing young businesses. Yeah, so if your business is still young, I wouldn't let that deter you from having a membership. You can absolutely still have a membership. But again, just make sure you have the availability to cover those hours. Going back to the treatment plan. So just like how I talk about packages, the main way that we sell our packages is going to be through our treatment plan. So we would say, this is your treatment plan. And oftentimes we make it, physical for the client to see, this is how often you need to come in. This is how many sessions I recommend, or this is how often you should come in for how many ever weeks. And then take that recommended treatment plan and turn that into a package or membership. And the strategy that I was just describing with the $499 a month membership, if you really think about it, it's almost like a package and a membership combined. They're purchasing a package every single month for a certain amount of months to cover their recovery or to cover their treatment. And then after that recovery period is over, after they've gone through that treatment plan, now we can do more maintenance services. Now they can come in perhaps once a month, and now we have another membership for that. So you can kind of create graduated pricing based on your unique business, your treatment plans, the types of clients that you see. And this is why I always say that it's so important to have a niche, because when you have a niche, you know exactly what their pain points are, what the transformation that they want. And it's easier to create treatment plans for your clients if they all come in having the same pain point or the same issue. For those of you who are joining me live, go ahead and type a 1 if you're following me here, because I am going to dive into more of the strategy of this. Hi. All right, so it looks like y'all are following me here. So we're going to go a little bit deeper. Sheena said, North Carolina, hand and stone. Can't do the corporates no more. Last week. Okay. Sounds like you're about to go work for yourself. I don't blame you. Sometimes that corporate life it's too much. Sometimes it's too much. All right. So just to reiterate the last point that I made, when you can create a wellness program or a recovery program or some type of journey that you can take your clients on, that is, especially if it's specific to them or specific to maybe the niche that you're covering, that's going to make it that much easier to sell your memberships, especially if you're seeing your clients on a more frequent basis. Some of you are seeing your clients maybe every 2 weeks. And in those, it's really great for them, especially on situations that you see over and over and over again. Also, I'm not going to be saving this live on Instagram. This is going to be saved on YouTube. So if you are joining on Instagram, just make sure you can watch the replay on YouTube. Okay, so we talked about creating treatment plans based on, or excuse me, creating memberships based on your treatment plans or based on your wellness programs. And if you see me looking everywhere, it's because I have notes over here. I have Instagram right here. There's a lot of stuff to look at. I got the chat over here. Okay. So a bonus tip here is if you can physically demonstrate what this looks like to your clients. So every time we have a new client, we physically will write down. We have these brochures, and it has quite a bit of information on there. But the main part of the brochure is their treatment plan. So it tells them, how often they'll be coming in. And I also have treatment plan templates that you can also purchase as well, if you need an idea of how to create a custom treatment plan. All right, so one of the next points I want to make here is no-brainer pricing. So you want to make launching your membership a no-brainer. You want to make the membership, really, if you're going to launch a membership, you want to really make this the cornerstone of your business. You want to encourage people to get on your membership because, again, this is going to be a retention strategy, not necessarily a revenue strategy. And so, because it's a retention strategy, you want to make sure you have no brainer pricing. Now, when I say no brainer pricing, I'm not saying to lowball your membership or make it an unbelievable price. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying make it a no brainer based on the stage that your clients are at. So I'll give you an example. When we were doing model calls to help our staff get booked or our new staff get booked, one of the things that we did is after they completed that model call, which was, definitely a very low price, because the purpose of it wasn't even revenue. It was to train our staff and also get, photos, videos, essentially marketing assets that we can have for a very, very long time. That was the purpose of the model call. And so after they pay, let's say $50 for their session, that we were able to take photos, videos, all that stuff, train our staff, we would encourage them to come back at 30% off. That would encourage them to book their second session with that same provider. So not only does that help that provider, get their foot in the door and like get a new client, but it also encourages that client to come back. So now we're building that know, like, and trust factor. So after they come back at that 30% off, what we would do next, and I actually described this whole strategy in the newsletter, so make sure you join the newsletter if you're not on it. But after they come back, this is where we say, hey, you can actually lock in a very similar rate with our membership. And our membership has these benefits, especially if you, let's say, come in for an extra session, that's 15% off, friends and family, that's 15% off. So you also want to incorporate your referral program in with your membership and just make sure it has a lot of benefits. So if you offer any add-ons, sometimes those add-ons can be either discounted or they can be complimentary, especially if you've already purchased the equipment for that add-ons or your consumables are very low for those add-ons. In some cases, they are really good candidates for adding into the membership to make it an even better deal. So we would say, okay, go ahead and lock in this rate. And that way we retain that client for 6 to 12 months. To me, that is a win-win. So again, it's not necessarily a retention strategy, although over that 6 to 12 months, they're probably spending $1,700, $1,800, just depends. And there's also tipping, there's also add-ons, there's so many different things included with that. But we're retaining that client. And the more you can retain a client, the more likely they're going to continue with you even that following year, especially if you do the next tip, which I'm about to get to in a moment. All right, more people are joining. Welcome, welcome. I'm going to get to some of these questions towards the end. I'm going to go to my next point. Go ahead and type a 1 in the chat if you're still with me, because I know I'm kind of breezing through some of these points. All right. So to kind of reiterate this last point that I made is to make your graduated pricing. So for example, we had our model call, then we bring them back at 30% off, and then we have them lock in a membership rate, which might be maybe $10, $20 more than what they just paid. And then we're retaining that client for 6 to 12 months. So I mostly want to reiterate that this is a retention strategy. All right. Another way you can do no-brainer pricing is if you offer a new membership price. So for example, we have a founder's membership price. Our founder's membership price is $99. There's quite a few things included with that. It's only for a limited amount of time. It'll never be that low again, which is great incentive for people to be a part of it, because when it comes to sales, a lot of people do have FOMO. They don't want to miss out on a really good price. And oftentimes it's not necessarily about the price. It's just about the support and also wanting to come back on a regular basis. But if you're going to come back on a regular basis, you might as well get a pretty good rate for that. So you can offer a founder's pricing. Doesn't have to be $99. It could be $130. It could be $150. It could really be whatever you want it to be. And in addition to that, you can create memberships based on a specific service. So for example, if you're an esthetician and you do microneedling, you could have a microneedling membership, especially for people who want to be on a plan for that. If you do stretch therapy, you can create a stretch therapy membership, especially if you have a particular journey or treatment plan for that. All right, so I'm going to summarize some of these points in a moment, but I have one more tip for you when it comes to your memberships, and then we're going to get to these questions. Okay, so the last tip I have for you is if you're going to go all in with your memberships, you definitely want to go the extra mile and remind your members why it's great to be a member, why it's great to have a membership with you. So I mean, go the extra mile to make them feel special, to have personal touch points. Of course, you can have certain automated touch points. I definitely recommend that. But you also want to have human connection touch points. So this might include a handwritten letter directly to them, like to their house, thanking them for being a member. It could be, spending a little extra money on, merchandise that, first of all, advertises your business. So that's a win-win, that you can give to them. And that will also make them feel like they're supporting you as well. So making sure that you have some type of touch point, especially a human touch point, to thank them for being a member. And you want to do this for every single month that they're a member. So what I would do, I would have a system where month one, this is what they get. Month two, this is what they get. And these are all things that they didn't know that they were going to get. And these can be things that don't cost you a whole lot. Even if it's just thank you notes that are handwritten and sent out to them. That's also something that you can have your team do whenever they sell a membership. You can have them being the ones writing these letters. It could be branded merchandise, such as cups, t-shirts, bracelets, pens, things like that, some type of set. It could be a personal phone call. Maybe you personally call them to confirm their appointment and then also thank them for being a member. It could be a special VIP treatment. I worked at one spa where if you were a member, you always got a glass of champagne and you always got like some type of snack whenever you came in. So there's so many different things. But you want to make them feel special, make them feel like a VIP, because they have signed up to see you every single month and they put it on paper. For those of you who don't have memberships, of course, you have clients who come in every month, you're retaining that client. But for your members, you're giving them a special rate and they signed on paper that they're going to see you for a certain amount of time. You want to make sure that they renew at the end of that time period. So one of the best ways you can do that is to make them feel special, make them feel heard, make sure that their suggestions are not taken lightly, and just really bolster the fact that they're a member with you. And I made a little pun there, but yeah. Okay, so I'm going to sum up some of these points that we made here, especially for those of you who just came in, which, by the way, welcome. All right. So tip number one was, remember that this is a recurring revenue strategy. This is not necessarily a revenue strategy, or excuse me, this is a retention strategy, but also it's going to help you create recurring revenue that's going to cover your overhead. So again, if you're going to launch your membership, have a goal that, okay, I'm going to get 40 members when I launch this thing, and that's going to cover my rent, utilities. It's going to cover, maybe you have a laundry service, just those expenses that you can expect to have every single month, your internet, not necessarily your variable expenses, but your overhead expenses. So before you even launch, you really want to know what that number is and have a goal for your membership. Next is going to be your treatment plan. So creating treatment plan based memberships. There's so many different types of memberships that you can create, but the ones that I find are the easiest to sell are going to be the ones based on your treatment plans. So I gave you the example of the $500 a month membership that we have that guarantees people to come in once a week, in addition to other perks that they have, such as if they come in more times than that, then they get a certain discount. Friends and family get a certain discount. They get discounts on retail. They get special pricing to make up for that membership price. And essentially, it's like selling a package every single month for a certain amount of months. And that is based on what we typically see in our practice working with a particular client. So this is especially a great strategy for those of you who have niche clientele and you have a particular treatment plan. We give physical treatment plans to our clients. I do sell the one that we used to use, and you'll likely see that in the description. I know it's also on Instagram in the bio. Let's see. The next tip is having no-brainer pricing, especially when you first launch your membership. So you want to have no-brainer pricing. And again, don't confuse this with unbelievable low prices. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying lowball your membership, but just make it a no-brainer for them. So I gave you the example of having that client journey of, okay, they came in for a model call. Okay, now they're in at 30% off. Okay, now they're in um, at a membership price. So we've already retained them, and now they're on a membership, and now they're coming back. All right. And then the last tip, let's see here. Let me go back to my notes. Was again, go ahead and go the extra mile when it comes to your membership. So before you even launch, I want you to have set points or touch points already created. So month one, this is what they get. Month two, this is what I'm going to give them. Again, it doesn't have to be things that cost you anything. Some of these things can be a personalized phone call. It could be an email. It could be a written letter. It can be merchandise that also advertises your business. It can be, they get to try a new service that you're offering. It could really be anything. Or maybe they get to name a service that you're offering. But definitely make them feel special and show them why they became a member. And you can also have your team participate in this. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to the questions. So I do have a broadcast group on Instagram. That's where most of these questions are. You definitely want to join the broadcast group. I believe we call it the Spapreneur Society. So definitely want to join that because I put little challenges in there. Okay, so the first one I got was how to create a membership for mobile massage. So really the same way that I'm describing, which is identifying what are your overhead costs. They're likely going to be very low if you're a mobile business, but describe what your overhead costs are, decide what your goal for that membership is going to be, and decide what are the perks of that membership. Is it priority booking? Like decide what the perks are. I'd also want to know like what type of massage that you do, because you could be creating a treatment plan. So even the same memberships that we have, they also apply to mobile sessions. So that's another benefit, is that you can use your membership for in-suite or for mobile. But I think the very start of this question is create a goal, determine what the benefits are. So what's in it for your client, what's in it for you. And then it's time to start launching this membership. And that might be a separate video within itself, which is steps to launch your membership. All right, so I did see another question that said, how to come up with pricing? I'm working on a 3-tier. So pricing is going to depend on, again, those overhead costs. So if you decide that, if you see that your overhead costs are $3,500 a month, divide that by how many members you think you might need. And then that will start to tell you what your membership is. Or divide it by the price that you think you want your membership to be, which might be slightly less than what your single sessions are. And that's another thing. When we launched our membership, or before we launched our membership, we actually raised our the cost of our single sessions. So I would say do that first. And one of the reasons why we personally don't do any like tiers of membership is because honestly, the maintenance of it, like having to remember, okay, what's included in this tier, what's included in that tier, what's included with this tier. We wanted to test out just offering 2 types of memberships. So the first one is the one that incorporates packages with membership. So they're purchasing a package every single month. And then the other one is more like a maintenance membership. And they're related because one membership graduates down to the other one. So once they complete this treatment plan, now we're going to be doing maintenance, and that's a whole nother membership. So I would say instead of coming up with pricing based on your tiers, make it based on the type of clients that you're working with and what you see on a regular basis. Because again, if you have tiers, to me, I just like simplicity. I like to know what's included in each membership, and I do it based on what I see on a regular basis and those treatment plans that we create for our clients. Okay, so the other 2 questions had to do with SpaBizSuccess, and I'm going to answer those questions in a different live. But I will say the waitlist is open for that program. And I would just hint, hint, wink, wink that you might want to get on the waitlist now, because there's going to be a lot of cool bonuses for the waitlist this time. So I'm not going to go into SpaBizSuccess on this live, but I will just say you may want to be on the not the membership on the waitlist very, very soon. Okay, and let me go back through YouTube. I did see an interesting question over here on YouTube that says, is it protocol for corporate companies to take out of your pay to run a promotion? I would say, I don't know if you're a contractor or if you're an employee. If you're a contractor, I would say look at your contract. And then if you're an employee, I would say look at that employee handbook and your offer letter. If it's not included in either, then I would follow up with HR, especially if you don't find that that's fair. If they told you from the beginning, then, yes, perhaps. I'm not sure what's in your contract, though. So the next opening, so I'm seeing another question on Instagram. I'm on the wait list. When will your next class be? So that's going to be this upcoming month, but the wait list is going to be able to get in early. So I will say that. So it's going to the wait list first before it's out in the public. So that's one of the great benefits of being on the wait list. And then they get some extra goodies when they're on the wait list. I hope that answered your question over here on YouTube about companies taking out of your pay to run a promotion. I will say for my team, The only promotions where they might be paid a little less is if I have to be there to do training. So if I'm using my time to be there to train and we're with, a paying client, they already know that that's going to be, well, it doesn't necessarily take from their pay, but they're going to be paid at the training rate. But I know not a lot of businesses offer like training pay. So I'm not, it just depends. It just depends. All right. I wish I could stay a little bit longer. If you are watching on YouTube, definitely go over on Instagram and join our community that we have over there, the little broadcast channel, because I am running a little challenge. It's not a little challenge, it's a good challenge that's going to help you get 10 to 20 clients. So go ahead and look at that. And then make sure that you're on the wait list for SpaBizSuccess. Okay, she says she's an employee. I would definitely look at that offer letter, but it looks like you already left. So yeah, communication is everything when you're a part of a workplace. Okay, and then for those of you who do have questions, I did see some questions in my inbox. I am going to get back to them today. But thank you for joining me on this live. If you do watch the replay, let me know. Let me know in the comments, and I will be seeing y'all next week.